Talk to you. Well, this morning we're standing in the shop of Charlie Doherty, Main Street, Donegal town. It's one of the best known fishing tackle shops in the northwest. Good morning, Charlie, and it's good to talk to you. Charlie, you tell me you've been here in business for 70 years in Donegal town.
70 years, yeah.
Could you just give us a bit of the background of the fishing tackle shop here in Donegal town?
Well, my uncle got a mission. He started this shop here in 1925.
Right.
He left the bakery business. He was actually a great baker.
Right.
And the bread was famous all over the county.
Yes. Yeah.
So he left the bakery when my grandfather died and left all to his one son Thomas John, you see.
Oh yes.
So my uncle G, he came out and he started up here.
That was Eugene Doherty,
That was
it?
Eugene Doherty, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So he started a footwear shop and then he added the fishing tackle as well.
Right.
So he made his own rods and he made all his own flies. He was a perfectionist.
Right.
Time didn't matter. Everything had to be absolutely perfect.
Yes, yes.
And he actually got a lot of business from the locals with the fishing, like, you know.
Yes, yes. I believe a lot of your customers are very, very famous. There's one particular gentleman who's called Mick Hucknall from the Simply Red, the very famous pop group in England. Here's
Right.
one of your.
Right.
He lives over in Cloughan outside Balbofay there.
Right.
I see him in here regularly when I'm passing, sometimes in the summer.
Very good.
Yeah. So it's a well-known shop, Charlie. And I suppose living and growing up in Donegal town, you'll be very, very familiar with the whole area. I just noticed across the street from here, it's closed at the moment. It's the National Hotel. Do you remember the National?
It's a very going concern, that National Hotel.
Yes. And who actually ran that, Charlie?
It was a Mrs. Hughes.
Right.
And she actually ran it. Her first husband died.
Right.
And she got married a second time to, her first husband was called Thomas.
Yes.
Had a Jim Thomas, Margaret Thomas, Eddie Thomas. That was the family.
Okay.
And then she got married a second time to a man called Barney Hughes.
Yes. Okay.
But she was the worker.
Right.
She did everything.
Right.
Cooked, everything. Great worker.
Yes. Yes.
And made a great success of the hotel.
Yes. Yes.
And she made big dinners for the farmers on fair days.
Right. Okay.
Did a very good business.
And I believe it started off as a single story. Then she bought the adjoining houses.
She bought the adjoining house and she enlarged the whole place.
Yes. And just across the street from you as well, you have it's no longer a street now, it's called Clabber Lane at one stage. Do you remember that?
I remember Clabber Lane, yeah.
Do you know, Charlie, who would have lived in Clabber Lane at any particular time?
No. In my time, nobody was living,
Right.
but Charlie Brown, Lord of Mercy, but he was the blacksmith there.
Okay.
And he shod horses
Right.
all the time there. He was a very famous blacksmith.
Yeah.
Ford there.
Was that be Charlie Brown? Did he live in Church Street, on the old Church Street, just up beside the old church here beside us here?
Yeah, that's right.
Down
Yeah,
there.
that's
He
right.
had been a father of Willie Brown's then.
Willie Brown's fella, that's right. Yeah.
Well, Willie Brown was a great character himself, wasn't he?
He
You
was.
you remember him very well.
Absolutely, yeah.
He was involved in a lot of stage shows, wasn't he?
That's right.
In the old actual fact being next door, also in what used to be the old Roman Catholic Church,
That's right.
converted then to the cinema.
Cinema, that's
It was a
right.
good place for concerts, wasn't it?
Oh, great, yeah.
I'm sure you remember many of the concerts.
Oh, of course you do, yeah.
And the characters involved in them, Charlie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kevin Britton,
Yeah.
Lord of Mercy, and Joe McGarrick, Lord of Mercy, them too.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
the head men.
Oh, they were indeed. Okay. And I suppose Paddy McGlanahy, they used to call him.
Paddy McGlanahy, the one-man band.
What was his nickname under?
They called him Naylor.
Oh, right.
Naylor.
And the Spoons then, remember Spoons?
He's a man at the Spoons.
Oh, he had the Spoons.
That was part of his one-man band, the Spoons, you see.
Oh, right, okay, yes. I believe he was a very charismatic person altogether.
Oh, he was, yeah. Great character.
And of course you remember the boxing tournaments in the cinema also.
I do,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
Who would have been involved in that? John Hyland would usually have been the...
Dave Hanna, the Lord of Mercy, yeah.
Oh, Dave Hanna was the man who...
He was the head man there at the boxing, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and just going down, further down now the street here, Water Street, just on outside the door here on our left here. Do you remember most of the people who have lived in those houses?
I would have, yeah.
Could you tell me from starting from here who would have lived and going down Water Street?
Well, there was first of all there's Paddy Mullen, and there was Charlie McIntyre, and there's the O'Donnells, that's Hugh O'Donnell and Joe O'Donnell, they were living there.
Oh, that's where they live, yes, yes.
And below that there was the Keelys.
Right.
And then Mrs. Hannah, she had the small grocery shop there before Peter Quinn took over.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
Mrs. Dave Hannah? No?
No,
Different, Mrs. Hannah?
She was a widowed woman too.
Okay.
She had 2 daughters.
Okay.
But no, she had a small grocery shop, the sweet shop and grocery shop there.
Yes, okay.
And below that I can't remember. Peter Meehan, he had the tailor shop at the corner.
Okay, I remember Peter
Yeah.
Meehan, yes, yes. And of course going across the street then you had where the club rooms are now, there were a row of houses along there.
There was a row of houses along there, yeah.
And
That's right.
that was it McHugh's lived there? Was it Johnny McHugh lived there?
Oh, I can't remember really the names of those people there. I know there was people living in those houses there, yeah.
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 So roughly in the club rooms, do you remember the club rooms being actually built,
I
Charlie?
do, of course, oh yeah.
You have any idea what year that would have
I
been?
can't remember, no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, coming up, there was, as I say, Church Street was there again, and
That's
then
right.
you had a place called Zion Terrace. Do you know where that is? Across St Patrick's Terrace. It's just across beside where Peter's man shop is there now.
Oh, yeah.
It was called. It's now St Patrick's Terrace. There are only 2 houses there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a man called Doherty lived there. Also, would have been a relation of yours. Do you know?
No.
Yeah, that's
No.
before the church. Before the church was built up there. St Patrick's Church was built.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
No.
Okay, Charlie, that's great. Well, growing up in Donegal town, I'm sure you're very familiar. You've been a man who's been involved in everything in Donegal town. You've been involved in the fishing and you've been involved in hill walking. I believe yourself and a great friend of yours, Eamon Timoney, used to do a lot of hill walking throughout, so you're very familiar with the mountains of
That's
Donegal
right,
town,
yeah.
the Blue Stacks.
That's right.
And when you've gone any further, Charlie, from on the Blue Stacks?
Well, we went down to Achill Isle one time, you know, we covered the Achill, like, you know.
Yes, okay.
That was the farthest we ever went, like, you know.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
But you're also a great man for touring the world, I believe. You've gone around. Yeah. Have you any interesting stories from your trips abroad in Germany?
I did. Oh, I have, yeah. Oh, yeah. I hitchhiked one time from France right over to Istanbul.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. I was living rough, sleeping out like in the open, you know.
Yes.
And living rough, you know.
How long did that take you, Charlie?
Well, it didn't take me very long because I tell you the truth, I think I did it in about 3 or 4 days, you know.
All right, right.
Yeah. And I remember one time I got a lift, a very late lift up into the middle of Belgrade, you know.
Yes.
And I couldn't find any place to sleep, camp out. So I got into a little park.
Yes.
And in the morning I heard these 2 voices and I pulled my sleeping bag down. I had a waterproof cover over the bag, you see, it was raining.
Yes.
There was 2 soldiers standing above me with 2 Tommy guns.
Right.
This was Titan wasn't in power at that time.
Oh,
you see,
yes, okay.
in Yugoslavia.
Right.
So I pointed to myself and told them I was from Ireland.
All right. Yes.
Shook hands, stayed away and called me comrade.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
That's right. And I made out where I was heading for, and they, by sign language, you see,
Yes.
and they give me directions how to get to the next hitching spot, you
Yes,
see.
yes, yeah.
So that was very interesting, you know.
Yeah. And you made it as far as Istanbul.
Istanbul.
And what did you do when you got to Istanbul?
Well, I got into a youth hostel there, you know.
Right, yeah.
And spent about, I think, 3 or 4 days there, you know.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
very interesting, you know.
Yes.
Things were very cheap there too, you know.
Were they?
Yeah.
Any other trips abroad? Have you been to India at all? Or?
No. I then hitched, another trip I hitched right down through France and Spain.
Right.
It took me a week to do that.
Okay.
So I landed at the Spanish border there and took a boat over to Morocco.
Oh, yes.
So Morocco kind of worried me because it's a different world entirely, you know.
Yes, yes.
It sort of worried me, and I fell in with some Americans who were heading the same direction.
Right. Yeah.
So we all got on the one bus anyway, and there was a local chap there. He was actually a salesman for a B&B in Morocco.
Right.
So we all got on the one B&B.
Right.
So I went up to the dorm to get some sleep,
Yes.
and the Americans were all sitting around in a circle,
Yes.
smoking wee wooden pipes. So one man shoved a pipe over to me and says, "Do you want to get stoned?" No, thank you. I have enough,
Yeah.
Father.
Yes.
So then, once I got the feel of the country, I was okay, like, you know. I felt the people were good, no problem at all, like, you know. I started off on my own again.
Right.
And I hitched over then to Tunisia.
All right.
Yeah. And one night I remember staying in a house. It was dug out of a hill, you know. And
Yes.
it was, the reason for that is cool in the summer
Yes.
and warm in the winter.
Yes. Yes.
So what struck me when I went to bed was a profound silence.
Okay.
And in the morning, what woke me was the cock crowing.
Right.
So got up for breakfast, and it was a communal breakfast.
Right.
There was 2 Arabs and myself sitting round the one table, and they had this one dish in the middle, and chopped up eggs, and every man dipped his bread in the one dish.
Right. Yeah.
Something new for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the Arabs asked me why I wasn't married.
Yes.
And I told him I didn't want to take on a boss.
Yes.
He said that here, he says, the man is the boss.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And we can also take 4 wives.
Yes. Yes.
And he says, if any girl, young girl, drinks or smokes, she will never get married because no man wants her.
Oh. Yeah.
So I had it then, and I was going up the road, and there were a date plantation, you see, and I saw a man up the tree harvesting the dates. So I stood looking at him, and there was a man past me, and he said, "Entree et mange la date." It's all French speaking, you see.
Yes.
So I went in over the fence, and they handed me a big bunch of the most delicious dates.
Yes.
For nothing.
Right.
So I headed on then, and another evening I came, and this bunch of people were standing outside the house, and they called me over, and they said that they were celebrating pilgrims who had just returned from a pilgrimage to Mecca.
Yeah.
They brought me into the house and put a big plate of couscous and so on in front of me, and I could only finish half of it, there was so much in it.
Yeah.
And then out into the wee yard behind, open fire, and they had drums, and everybody danced around this fire.
Yes. Yes.
It was a very good entertainment.
Yes. Just when you mentioned French, I remember spending some time with you in France, must be about 20 years ago, and I was surprised you're a fluent French speaker, Charlie, are you?
Well, I wouldn't be fluent, but I have confidence.
Yes.
Because I saw it one time in the Reader's Digest that when you're learning a new language, you're permitted to make 500 mistakes every time you open your mouth.
Right. Yes.
So that gave me the confidence.
Good.
And that's how I picked it up.
Yeah. I believe you had an uncle who was he in one of the wars and stayed on in France?
Yeah. My uncle joined the British Army during the First World War.
What was his name, Charlie?
Patrick.
Patrick Doherty, was he?
No, Patrick Martin.
Oh, Patrick Martin.
Yeah, my mother's family, you see.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, he was carrying a trench spade on his back.
Yes.
During the Battle of the Somme.
Right.
And a shell splinter hit him in the back. Hit him in the back.
Okay.
And it was a spade that saved his life.
Right.
He was lying he was taken for dead, lying in the middle of the battlefield.
Right.
But somebody noticed a bit of movement in him.
Right.
So took him into a French hospital, and he recovered. And when he got out, he married a local French girl.
Okay.
And they have a family. And that's the people I go over.
And so they would be cousins of yours. They're living
first cousins.
And where do they live in France then, Charlie? So
Lille.
Oh, in Lille.
Live in Lille, yeah.
So that's where you got your French language
That's
for.
right, pick it up.
You were a big hit that time out in a place called Senny. Senny is twinned with Donegal town.
That's right.
And I remember you playing the accordion several times out there to entertain the people in Senny, so it was.
Yeah.
Oh yes. So even Timney and yourself did a lot of walking in the Blue Stacks.
We did. We learned all the hills. I thought it was good to know our own local hill, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I see them every day in the weekends. You'd wonder what's up there, like, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So Eamon and I explored every hill round the locality.
Okay. And you know a lot of fishing pools around Donegal. Can you give us an example of some of them, Charlie? There's one at Miss Jenny's Bridge, is there?
Miss Jenny's Bridge, and then there's Stevenson's.
Right.
And then you go up then to below Loch Hess Bridge, you know, all those pools like as well, you know.
Yes, yes. And what about the school hole, I say, in Donegal?
School hole, very good, yeah.
Is it still as popular as it used to be, Charlie, or has there
No.
been a decline in fishing there?
There's less people fishing.
Right.
Because it got a bit pricey, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And the young people are mostly interested now in computers and,
Yes, I suppose.
and water sports and different things like that, you
Yes,
see?
yes, yes, yes. I believe too you tie your own flies, do you?
I still tie my own flies, yeah.
Did you?
But I stopped making rods because you couldn't compete with the imported Chinese stuff.
Yes. Could
So
you give us
what
an example of a tying your fly? Could you do that for us? Is that possible at this stage?
Well, I could show you one or two that
Could you?
I've tied
Yeah.
here. Like,
Yes,
you
that
know.
would be great. Yeah.
It would take a bit of time to
No,
get.
you don't have to go. Just tell us just the process of what
That's
you
it
go
there,
through.
yeah, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't use a fly vise. I just catch the hook in my hand,
Yeah.
have my tail there, and just wind the thread round, you know.
Okay.
And that's the finished article there. You
So
see.
what type? Where would you get this from? The feathers.
That's that's goat hair there. You see.
Yeah. Right.
You import the feathers, like, you know, from different firms who specialise in fly tying stuff.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
So that's the story.
And you would cater for, I'm sure, fishermen all over the northwest, really.
Well,
wouldn't you?
yeah.
They come into you here in Donegal town.
But yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's great. So listen, around the diamond area, Charlie, when you be growing up, I know you're in your 80s or 81 actually, aren't you, at this stage?
Yeah.
You'd have gone to school with the likes of Jerry Timoney there and Don Breslin.
That's right.
They'll be great friends of yours,
That's
I would
right.
say. The whole era has changed there, hasn't it, really,
Absolutely.
in the diamond.
Yes.
There were a lot of bakeries around Donegal town, weren't there? You
There
mentioned Doherty's, Thomas John Doherty, who would
Yeah.
have been your uncle.
That's right.
Now, where did he live now?
Where the Browns took have started a cafe down there,
Okay,
you see?
yes.
And then I think it's a footwear shop now.
Okay,
That's
yes.
where it was, you know?
Yes, and that would be Thomas John Doherty's, yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
And then I believe Pilkingtons, who across the road here, they
Yeah.
had a bakery.
That was a good bakery.
Can you
too.
tell me who lived in Pilkingtons? Was it Eddie and
There was Jim and Eddie and Kathleen.
Kathleen? Yes.
And I think Ned Pilkington was the father. He started it off, but I can't remember him very well. Like, you know, he was
Right.
dead quite a long time, you know.
Yeah.
But Jim Pilkington and Eddie Pilkington and Kathleen, they had the shop as well.
Oh yes.
And they sold the bread, homemade bread.
Yes.
It was very good because during the war it was difficult to get good bread.
Right. Okay.
But their bread was very good, you know.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why in Donegal had we so many bakeries. We had Duncan's Bakery, we had Doherty's, we had Pilkington's,
That's right.
and then we had the bakery down where the Abbey Hotel is.
That's
That
right.
was a bakery at one stage
That's
also.
right.
Yeah.
Well, you see, there was less transportation.
Yes.
People in the town were self-sufficient.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the way it was, like,
Okay.
you know.
And of course you remember Paddy McGowan very well, the shoemaker
Oh,
over there
of
who used
course.
to repair shoes.
That's right.
They lived all along there, and
Yeah.
Jesse James, they used to call him Jesse James Gallagher,
That's right.
Donald Gallagher's
That's
dad.
right. They had the restaurant there, yeah.
Yeah, a restaurant, and
Yeah.
they used to do keep borders as well,
That's
or
right.
something, wasn't it?
B&B, that's right.
Yeah. So along the main street, people like Matt Key lived there. Do you remember Matt Key?
Matt Key and Jim Key.
Jim
and,
Key.
And their uncle James.
Yes.
And Mary Key was the mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lived there.
They lived there.
And coming down this side of the street beside you, Annie Lynn's was the pub. Was it before that?
That's right. Annie Lynn and Floy Lynn and Kitty Lynn.
Yeah.
They were all living there, you know.
And McMahon's shop there.
McMahon's, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then you had Sally Gallagher, was it? Or Sally Gallagher. Who was before Sally Gallagher? Nardoni's, was it? Do you remember Nardoni's who lived there? They were Italians.
Oh, that's right. Nardon's, that's right, yeah. I can't. There was a second-hand clothing shop there
Oh, was there?
before Nardon's took it over.
Oh, was that right?
Like, people would leave in their old clothes, and when they sold them, they were paid then after they were sold, like, you know.
Oh, yes, I understand.
People were poor those days, you know.
Well, say the word.
Yeah.
It was an impoverished time in Ireland growing up in the
Oh, God,
40s.
there was
Well,
no money.
it still is indeed, for that matter, Charlie, the way things are going.
Oh, not at all. They no hard times like
Yeah.
what we had. Like,
Is that
you know.
right? Yeah.
Because I remember going to school, we had just a bread sandwich with butter and jam in it,
Right.
a bottle of milk, and our school bag.
Yes.
That was our lunch.
Okay.
And if we weren't able to finish our sandwich, there's 2 or 3 fellas stand waiting on anything you had left over,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So nothing went lost those days.
And at that stage too, of course, you mentioned school, you'd have to go what we used to call cutting the winds up the back of the school, do you
That's
remember?
right.
Yeah. To keep the little round stove going out of the
That's right.
toasting bread. Going down the street there, did Danny Monaghan have had he a butcher shop?
Butcher shop. That's
Right.
right. Danny Monaghan was there, and Joe Kelly, he was a relative, I think, it's the first cousins. We're first cousins, you know.
Yeah.
And Danny Monaghan was there, and Molly Monaghan, she married Martin Fox.
That's right, yes. I remember that.
Aye.
Yeah.
And they had a very good butcher shop there.
Yeah.
Joe
yeah.
Kelly knew him very well, like, you know.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good butcher.
That's where Frank Buster then moved in afterwards.
Frank Buster moved in afterwards there.
Okay, and,
yeah.
and just going on down the street, do you remember Irwin's shop. Who was there before that? Was that Britain's, Christopher Britton?
That was Britain's.
Yeah.
Britain's, yeah.
In the
yeah.
pub there, where?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then further up you had McGinney's.
McGinney's, that's right. Yeah.
And then Melly's they had a laundry or some type of thing.
No, Melly's was the pub.
What? Remember Sis Melly before you came to the pub?
No.
It wasn't that okay, and Morrissey's lived there.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that's all changed really now, hasn't it? The whole Main Street and Rogie Mac. Do you remember the Macs?
Oh, of course.
Or McDermott's they were called.
Absolutely.
I believe they were great characters, Charlie Worth.
Of course, Rogie Mac and Paddy Mac. Oh yeah, Susie Mac. Yeah.
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 And then of course coming down you had McGinty's shop, Mary McGinty's shop.
That's right. They had a what do you see? A footwear repair.
Oh.
Shoe repair shop.
Who was that, McGinty?
Yeah, but he actually handmade the shoes for people.
Oh, did he?
People with deformed feet and maybe with a bigger foot or a smaller foot, they had to get them handmade with McGinty.
Oh, he was Tom McGinty, was he? No?
Thomas, I think it might have been Thomas McGinty.
Yeah.
He actually made the actual shoes, for to fit the feet,
Okay. And did Mary Ellen Ward have a shop up there beside him at one stage? I believe she did. She moved then down to Castle Street.
Could have been. Yeah. I don't remember that one. No.
Yeah.
No.
Apparently she was a great. She was in Clan Republic and a great woman during her cause in the 1920s, before the War of Independence.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's grand, Charlie. So if you. What else was going to say to you? Just fishing. Have you any boat at all now? You've no boat whatsoever. You used to have a little boat one time.
I had a couple of sailing boats all right, yeah.
And did you sail a lot? You did?
Oh, I sailed as often as I could,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you cycling? Did you ever do any cycling around there?
Oh God, I used to cycle up and down to Madorn regular. Oh yeah.
You had the dances and all that type of thing?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
What would you do? Would you stay over? Would you sleep rough? Or what would you do?
Well, I used to cycle home again, but one night I stayed rough in Madorn, and in the morning I woke and there was two guards jumped over the ditch,
Yes, okay.
And they thought I might have been on the run. This is the time of the trouble, you see.
Yes.
So they were very disappointed when they discovered I wasn't a fugitive.
Yes, okay.
I explained that I was at the dance and I didn't want to cycle home because I had no light on my bike.
Yes, okay.
So,
okay.
That was it.
Charlie, do you remember over at the old railway station? Do you remember the railways in Donegal? Of
course.
That would have closed 1959, I think, wasn't it? 31st December 1959.
That's it.
Did you ever go on any of the rail buses, or have you any interesting stories you can tell us about?
Yeah. I remember very well. That's a photograph I took out of the Credit Union calendar.
Okay.
Of the rail car on the station there, was going concern at that time, and I remember leaving my sister Kathleen, the Lord of Mercy there, over there to that rail car.
Yes.
And she was going away for the first time of her life out of the country to London to train as a nurse.
Oh.
And she was actually crying because it was a very, very brave thing, because she didn't know anything at all about anything,
And what age would she have been?
She'd be about, I suppose, 15, I'd say, 15, 16,
That's very young, yes.
Yeah. So she went to train as a nurse in London.
Okay.
It was a great opening for people going from here,
Yes, sure. So she took the
student
bus.
nurse.
She would have taken the bus to Strabane and changed in Strabane.
Changed in Strabane and then went from Strabane to Belfast and took the boat from Belfast over.
Yes.
And then the train then into Euston Station in London.
Okay, and it's funny, at the railway station, do you remember Maggie Walsh? She used to run the Easton
course
shop
I do.
in the railway station. Johnny Murphy worked for her. He used to deliver the papers.
That's right. Oh God.
Johnny, who lived up in the Mullen.
Yeah. Well, she did a good business there, selling books and magazines and all that.
Yeah.
And we used to always run over and buy our comics. So she sold comic books and all that. You know?
Yes. Well, I suppose it was the only mode of travel we did have in Donegal, really, with the rail car.
Well, it actually saved our lives during the war.
Yes.
Because the farmers could get their cattle away on the trains. Remember, big loads of cattle going away on the trains, over to England,
Yes.
There was a great demand on the Irish wheat at that time, you see.
Yes, of course, there would have been, of course, yeah.
So then, they brought the goods into Donegal as well,
Yes.
Because no petrol, very, very scarce petrol, and transport was very limited.
Yeah. It was also good for day trips to Rasnarla, for families going to Rasnarla with the tickets.
It's a great place up to us now.
Yes, for sure.
A little farm up in Golard, you see.
Oh, right. And what was your mother's name? Martin, was
Martin, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
So I heard my uncle, one of my uncles, emigrated to California,
All right.
and he came home on a holiday, and he said they had no fond memories at all of his home,
Yeah.
because he says he remembers coming home from school on a wet winter's day, soaking wet,
Yes.
and he had to stand in front of the open hearth fire with the steam rising out of his clothes. He simply had no second change of clothing.
My gosh.
So times were hard, you know.
Yeah, times were hard
Yeah.
indeed.
And I remember selling shoes here, like, you know, and people would come in from the country to places, and sometimes they'd get shoes on credit,
Yes.
and they wouldn't pay you.
Oh.
It used to worry me, because I thought they were actually trying to do me, but the fact is they hadn't the money to pay for the shoes. They simply couldn't pay for them,
Yes, yes,
but
yeah.
they had to get the shoes.
Naturally enough,
Yeah.
yeah. So how did you ever get paid for them, Charlie, or what?
Some of them no, some of them no, never were paid for.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, I didn't understand that they just didn't have the money.
Yeah, yeah.
You see?
But you told me you started in this business when you were what, 15?
I started here when I was 15. My uncle died, Lord of Mercy, when I was 15.
Yes.
I stood behind this counter when I was 15. I'm still here.
And you managed the business on your own from you were 15?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you started then, of course you moved here when you were 10 when your dad died, you told me that.
That's
Is
right, yeah. And then another good experience I had was when I joined the FCA.
Oh right, yes.
I got a great experience there, going away for my first training camp, you know.
Right, yes.
And it's an experience I would never miss.
Oh right.
7 very good years in the FCA.
Right.
And I think every young lad should actually join the FCA.
Yeah, where did you train? Finner Camp, was it?
I was in Mullingar for my first camp.
Oh, that's a big
A very
experience.
cold January.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it was a great experience. And I went over, I went to a camp every year after that.
Yes,
And I learned an awful lot.
yes.
I wouldn't have missed it for anything.
Of course, they used to say that the FCA overcoats were great blankets for the beds, weren't they?
We had to use them on that first camp because it was very cold, you see.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Every man put his overcoat on the top of the bed like to keep warm, you know.
Well, who would have been? Can you remember who would have been with you from Donegal town in your unit? We'll call it the unit, for want of a better word.
Well, Eamon Gallagher.
Yes.
I remember Eamon was a pal of mine. We were there, and there was Cal Kilpatrick from Lahey. He was
Yes.
there, and Brennan, brother of his, he was in the FCA at that time as well, you know.
Yes, yes. Eamon Gallagher, that would be Paddy Gallagher's son. They had the pub down.
That's right, yeah.
That's where the
Where
the old Castle Bar is.
that's the place, yeah.
Okay, that was Gallagher. That was Paddy Gallagher's
That's
pub.
Paddy Gallagher, famous man, Paddy Gallagher.
He was a famous man, Paddy Gallagher. I think he was interned for 2 or 3 years
Yes.
during the Troubles in the 1920s, during the War of Independence.
Could have been,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
could have been, yeah.
Phil Timoney and himself and Paddy Gallagher and I'm sure 2 or 3 others. I can't remember them now.
Paddy Gallagher used to get in a boatload of coal to the pier here, you know.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And everybody came round. He had all the, we'll say the rural people coming in with the horses and carts.
Yeah.
And taking the coal round at different houses. He used to book the orders before the boat came in, like, you know.
Okay, right. Yeah.
And it was a very good thing, like, because fuel was scarce those days, you know.
Yeah. And when did that stop? The coal boats. I do remember as a kid that just this coal boats coming into Donegal Pier. When did that stop, Charlie? Around the mid-50s, would it be?
Oh God, I'd say about that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty was when he had the coal, there were no boats available. Only small boats could come in here, like, you know.
Yes.
It was difficult getting the boat to suit the
Yeah.
load of coal, like, you see.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it was all done by hand. I remember the man here, Paddy O'Brien was one of them, and other hardy men were in with shovels down in the hold, filling the coal buckets.
Okay.
It was all done by hand, you see.
Oh, right, right. And then, of course, Paddy Gallagher, he had his yard. I remember as a kid, his
That's
yard
right.
at the back was full of coal.
Full of coal.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
surplus coal was all brought into the yard then, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That kept us going.
Well, do you think what is it, the fact that there are no more coal boats arriving or coming to Donegal, is it silted up, do you know, or what has caused it?
It wasn't economical, I suppose, after a while, because then maybe another coal merchant came in and maybe took some of the business away, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure really what happened.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know, are there as many seals down there in Donegal Bay as there used to be, Charlie?
Oh, far too many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Far too many.
Some people say they're a nuisance and some people say they're not. So what's your view on that?
Well, they do slaughter salmon, like you know.
Yes, yes.
You know.
I think it takes a lot to feed them. It's only every day so many pounds of salmon.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think there should be a seal cull every year, like you know.
You think so?
Keep the numbers down. Oh God, I wouldn't like to see anything happen to them, but I think that the numbers should be kept at a level, like you know.
Yes. So that's great, Charlie Doherty. It's great to talk to you, and you're a very, very interesting man. And thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Charlie. That's
Okay.
Charlie Doherty of Doherty's Fishing Tackle on the main street in Donegal town. It's the premier fishing tackle shop in the northwest of Ireland. Actually, he serves his customers from all over the fishermen from all over the area. So if you're in Donegal town, don't forget to give Charlie a visit. That's Doherty's Fishing Tackle shop.
I just dropped in to see you all. I'd only stay a while. I want to hear how you're getting on. I want to see you smile. I'm happy to be back again and greet you one and all. For there's no place else on earth just like the homes of Donegal.